Actually don't look that bad, but the rotor face is pretty chewed up. I'm wondering if the rotors have ever been replaced. So we're out here today in the driveway. We're going to replace the front brakes on Mindy's car. We're going to go ahead and do brakes, pads, and rotors. Hopefully this is better when we went to do the rear ones, because you saw that video. We had to replace the whole caliper because it was seized. One mistake I made was I bought two different calipers. One of them, Napa had one in stock, Advance had the other one. The Napa one had a coating. This one did not, so it's rusted, so I wish I'd painted it, but whatever. Obviously first thing we're going to do is get the carb in the air with jack stand under it. It's a 19mm socket to get the wheel off. Then we'll break the caliper loose. I don't know if this has a set screw in there for the rotor or not, and we'll go from there. So a little trick you can do is, if you have WD-40, liquid wrench, whatever this stuff is, Castle thrust penetrating oil, PB blaster, whatever, what I will do is I will spray it in each hole like this. Spray the screws too, but if you spray it in the holes, it will actually get in behind the face of this and help you when you go to take it off, because a lot of times these will get rusted and stuck and crap will fall off. So plus you can take a mallet and smack the face of it and it'll help it. But first thing today is going to be getting these loose. Go ahead and take this caliper loose, set it up here, and get a drill or an impact with a Phillips bit. Try to knock these loose. So if you're just doing pads, you've got two 12s right here, right there. You can take that loose, compress your caliper, whatever. You're going to take the whole caliper loose so you can replace the rotor. You got two 17s, one here and one on the bottom. So I got my two 12s off. Here's your pads. They actually don't look that bad, but the rotor face is pretty chewed up. I'm wondering if the rotors have ever been replaced. And they're getting a little thin too, plus they're getting all this stuff on the inside. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace the rotor, and since I'm in here, I'm gonna go ahead and replace the pads. What I'm gonna do, normally what you would do would be you would stop here, unload all this, and then you've got new hardware. Put new pads in. I'm gonna go ahead and get everything loose and take these two bolts loose for the bracket. I can take it off, place the rotor, then I'll put the bracket back on, load it, caliper last, done. So I got my two 17s loose for my bracket. They were super tight. I had to get a breaker bar, impact socket, and my cheater pipe. Come out here and basically stand on it, and they came loose. So now to get the two set screws loose, drill, impact. Came right out with the liquid wrench. Now I've got my mallet. So since I've sprayed everything, I'm just gonna hit it with the mallet. Just kind of give it a, and it will come loose. Okay. There we go. Okay. Rotor's off. Mallet wasn't doing it. We got a small sledge. Whacked it. If you're going to reuse the rotor, I would not recommend using a sledge. So now we'll get the new rotor on. It did come with two new set screws, so something you need to pay attention to is where your holes are at. Your holes for your set screws. They will be these holes, not those. Those are the ones, like I said, to help pop it loose. As seized on as this was, that's how much stuff come out. I don't think the screws are done. So you get one at top, one at bottom. So slide this back on like that. We got two new set screws. What I'm going to do is get them started. And go back and tighten them down. Okay. New rotor. Got the old hardware off. Might come out with my hand. If not, take a flathead, pop it loose. Now these go like, should go figure out how these go. Like that, yep. Okay, and you'll have one on each side. You'll feel them go on. Tab goes up like this. Now, I've got the hardware here. I'll put the bracket back on, put the new pads on, and new hardware, and this side will be done. All right, so I got my new rotor on, new caliper on, new hardware. I'm going to install the pads. Something to pay attention to, screamer bar goes on the inside. Something else I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of this ceramic brake lubricant on the ears, or you can put it on here however you want to. I may do both. That way as this moves against the metal, you don't get any noise. And then I'll pull these out, put a little bit on them to keep everything lubricated. Something else paying attention to, I just noticed. One pad, if I would have installed this pad here, the screamer bar would be at the top. The screamer bar needs to be at the bottom. So there is a passenger and driver side. So that one just sit here with some lube on it for a minute. So now these little spring guys, I've never used these. This is the first set of these I've ever used. But apparently all you do, there's a hole. Squeeze it together, put it in. Squeeze it together, put it in. And when you put the caliper in, it will push these down. I guess these are just anti-noise rattles or whatever. So now I'll pull these out, put some grease on them, put them in, put my 2 bolts back in. This side will be done. When you take these sliders out to re-grease them, there's a lip on them. Comes out of this boot, the boot stays in here. And then what you do, now remember, also notice there is a top and a bottom. Top one has this little like boot, I guess, thing on it. I don't know if there's a difference, but what I do is I just kind of, I don't like gobbing on, but I get it good and spread out. Just remember, you'll lose some going in through the boot, so you don't want to go crazy with it. Okay, get it good and on there. When you slide it back in, you will hear and feel it go back in the boot. Okay, now we'll compress our C-clamp, compress our caliper with a C-clamp, stick it back on. This side was the same as the other side. This side was actually easier. Things came loose easier. I've got everything retorqued. Everything's tight. I'm gonna take my old pads and my rotors, all that stuff, put them in my recycling. I'll drive it up down the road, get the pads seated in. She's good to go. So she's got new pads on all 4 corners, new rotors on all 4 corners. Like I said, new calipers on the rear. The front's calipers were fine. So she's got brand new brakes. I really need to clean those, but it's an easy job. It took me about an hour from start to finish. If I'd been busting, I could have done it quicker, but me and Steve talked, and it slows you down when you shoot video too, because there's times you do stuff and you're like crap and you have to go back and redo it for video. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean these headlights again. I cleaned them once before, but I'm going to do a better clean, and I may end up replacing them. So thanks. Done.